Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel. We're going to do starting to wrap up this video series on the $98 Decathlon Rockrider ST100. So big disclaimer, this bike is no longer available for $98. I did see one of the available options on walmart.com for $148, but that's for the small frame size. So just want that to be known. If you start going to look for this bike for $98, it doesn't really exist anymore, but I just like being able to kind of experience what a cheaper bike like this was like, and that was the purpose of me buying the bike and then also doing this little video series. So what I wanted to do today was talk about the 5 things I like about the bike and 5 things I am not so positive about the bike, or 5 things that I don't feel so positively about. That's better. Anyway, so first, let's go over the things I do like. So I mentioned it already that there are other frame sizes of this bike, and that was the first thing that caught my eye when I first saw this bike. Was it came in small, medium, large, and extra large to fit a wide range of riders. This is not something you typically see on bikes at Walmart, and as you can see right there, if it'll focus, I don't know if it will. Yeah, I don't know. It's horrible lighting in my garage, so I apologize. But it says XL right there on the top of the frame. And this is the one I bought because I'm 6'1", and that's a good size for me. So next, moving along, the frame itself I like, just being a really nice quality matte finish paint job, and the welds look really nice. It is just a overall really decent looking frame, and I'm appreciative that they put that effort into it to make the bike look nice instead of putting really cheesy stick-on decals and things like that. All the graphics are integrated into the paint finish. I also like the wheels on this bike. So they're nothing fancy. They're a 27.5-inch wheel, but it's a double wall rim. Very, very sturdy. Haven't had to true them. They've stayed straight. And the rear is a bolt-on hub, but it's an alloy Joytech hub, which is something I was surprised to see a name brand, even though it's a cheaper brand, name brand hub. Front is a quick release. However, that is a steel hub, so not quite as nice, but it's also Joytech. It's got the stampings on the hub shell say Joytech. So again, they went with at least a known brand of a hub, and so far they've not needed to adjust them, and they're smooth. Let's see, moving along, I also am surprisingly appreciative of how well the brakes on this bike work. I just assumed having these cheaper looking plastic levers and then a kind of stamped steel brake caliper, they wouldn't work that well, but once they're set up and adjusted correctly, they've got really nice lever feel. They stop very well. So that's I'm gonna give that a plus, even though they're not the newer, disc brakes. There's nothing wrong with this type of brake. It works well, and I'm just gonna leave it at that. I appreciate that. Drivetrain. That's another thing that I was surprised about. So it has unbranded parts here and there, such as the crankset and the front derailleur. And then the rear derailleur is branded Beachwind, but I think that is actually a rebadged microshift derailleur. And it does have microshift twist shifters. Everything works well. It's solid. It's been reliable. I haven't had any weird issues with it. I also like the fact that they put a sealed cartridge bottom bracket, which is the bearing assembly that the crank spins on. That's not something you typically see on a bike in this price point. And okay, that's everything for the 5 things I like. So let's move on to the 5 things I'm not so stoked about. So the first is going to be this fork. So this is a Zoom brand fork, and I don't expect it to be, this marvelous high performance fork. It's a very basic grease lubricated unit. There's not like a hydraulic bath in there. It's just a spring with some grease and some plastic bushings in there. But that being said, with as few miles that I've put on this thing, probably less than 100 miles, I'm already getting a bit of slop in the bushings, so you feel a little bit of a clunk in the fork. Not really anything that's a safety issue. I just notice it. I'm used to high-end suspensions, so I would like to see that a little bit better. But again, I'm not really complaining for the price, just pointing out that's something that you may notice. The other thing I was not a fan of was the original seat post. So I've put a different seat post on here. Hint, hint at my next video. But the original seat post is this non-adjustable clamp. So you obviously have the clamp for the saddle to bolt on there, but you can't tilt this clamp here. This is welded onto the seat post. Not to mention the fact that this thing is steel and pretty heavy for a seat post. So I had to put a new seat post on to be able to adjust the saddle, which is what I did. But they could have at least put even just a basic two-piece seat post that has like the removable head clamp on the top that is not as nice, but at least would allow some adjustability. And then I also don't like the fact that this does not have more than one water bottle cage mount. You get one cage mount right there on the down tube. They certainly have plenty of room on the extra large, probably even the medium frame size to fit you another one in right there. Or they could have put a second one down underneath there, but they definitely should have put a second water bottle cage. Wouldn't have really added that much cost to the bike. Another thing I don't like about this frame, even though I talked about how much I like the frame, is you don't have a replaceable derailleur hanger, which is this section of the frame back here that the derailleur bolts to. Aluminum frames for a long time have come with a sacrificial piece of aluminum that bolts right down there that is designed to bend or break to not damage the actual frame itself. Now this derailleur is a plastic body derailleur, so I suspect this would kind of bend and break before the frame did. And it has this metal guard, so it's probably fine, but I still would like to have seen a replaceable derailleur hanger on there. I think the last thing I have is just the overall weight of the bike. And again, take this with a grain of salt. At the price that the bike is available, I don't expect it to be super lightweight. But things like this seat post and these cranks that are steel, just with that plastic coating, overall it just adds up and makes the bike quite a bit heavier than it otherwise could be, especially since they went to the trouble of giving you an aluminum frame. And again, for the money, for the intended use, it's really fine. But these are just the nits I'm trying to pick on the bike, and had to come up with something. So there we are. We're going to do another video here pretty soon on all of the changes that I've made. You've seen a couple of things that I have alluded to in this video, but I did want to just kind of go over that in a little bit more detail here pretty soon. So thank you again for watching. Please subscribe. We'll probably be doing some more bicycle content in the future, as well as motorcycle content if you're interested in that. And thanks again for watching. Have a great day.